We can see in Coleridge's Frost at Midnight the same pattern that we saw in this Lime Tree Bower, My Prison, as well as many other romantic poems called in the category labeled by M.H. Abrams the greater romantic lyric. We have a speaker who begins in a state of torpor or depression, is provoked into a state of reflection, and after going out of himself in that state of reflection, he then returns to his position with some renewed insight. In this case, we have a speaker who's in an ideal position for reflection. It's late at night. The rest of the family is sleeping. He's in some kind of solitude, not quite the same as some of the other poems. The speaker, again, reflects on what is most immediately present. In this case, it's the film on the grate of the fireplace that is flapping back and forth. And that's what spurs on his reflection. Again, we see the beneficial role that nature plays here. The frost performs its secret ministry, which is echoed at the end of the poem with the same phrase, the secret ministry of frost. Again, personifies nature as an inscrutable force, but one that works in mysterious ways to do good. The frost is, however, unhelped by any wind. Notice how often wind in these poems signifies a form of inspiration, just as the Romantics, and Shelley in particular, loved the image of the Aeolian harp, in which the wind essentially plays on the Aeolian lyre like a kind of flute. So the point is that just as the wind plays on the Aeolian harp, so does nature play upon the poet in that kind of half-active, half-passive state that both Wordsworth and Shelley ascribe to the poet. So, unhelped by any wind suggests a kind of lack of inspiration. There's nothing moving in nature. There's nothing inspiring the poet. It is too quiet. It is so calm that it disturbs and vexes meditation with its strange and extreme silentness. The speaker can't think because he's oppressed by this silence. And it's the film on the grate of the fireplace that is the sole unquiet thing, which gives it dim sympathies with me who live, making it a companionable form. So the film becomes like a friend and a part of the natural landscape, and it helps to make a toy of thought. That metaphor demonstrates the way that the speaker can now ease into his process of thinking. Just like this Lime Tree Bower, My Prison, Coleridge contrasts nature with urban life. His own urban upbringing is contrasted this time with the prospects of his child. Thou shalt learn far other lore and in far other scenes, for I was reared in the great city pent mid cloisters dim. In this case, Coleridge himself is placing himself in the great city pent mid cloisters dim, which is essentially what he ascribed to Charles Lamb in this Lime Tree Bower, My Prison. The poem also, I think I mentioned, this poem also inspired in some way Tintern Abbey, and Wordsworth draws from that to some degree the structure of the poem and the way Coleridge uses a family member's future prospects to get himself back in tune with nature. In this case, it's Coleridge's baby who becomes the repository for all of his hopes. Just as with Lamb in this Lime Tree Bower, Coleridge inspires himself by thinking of an experience that somebody else will have. So again, this secret ministry of frost manages to get him to feel in tune with nature again. And we note the poem's circular structure. It ends with the secret ministry of frost just as it had begun, emphasizing that the speaker is, again, in exactly the same place as when the poem began, but in an entirely different frame of mind. Again, just like this lime tree bower, my prison. So, like Lime Tree Bower, this Frost at Midnight is characterized as a conversation poem, and we can see in both poems how these conversations don't necessarily lead anywhere in a direct line. They don't have a linear sense of argumentation, but rather they're characterized by the windings of conversation, in which one inevitably picks up back somewhere where they started. Except that in the case of these poems, these are conversations that completely change one's perspective. So they've gone in a circle, perhaps, but so much has changed in the process of that circular path.